Disclaimer! For editorial and quality control reasons, I will not be answering every question I received in my Q&A video today. I hope you all understand there's nothing against you, it's just the process that I go through. Hey guys, CreamCrazy here, welcome to my October Q&A. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done one of these, hasn't it? Yeah, there wasn't one in September due to obvious university moving reasons, but as you can see, I'm here now, and it's now time to answer whatever questions you lot have thrown at me. Now, you saw the disclaimer up front. Once again, due to editorial reasons, I am not doing every single question that you guys have sent me, mostly because I'd be here for up to 4 hours if I was given every single question the same amount of thought I normally give them. But I hope you guys don't mind that, because doesn't matter, at least one question of every single person who sent it got on here, so just saying, folks, don't be pissed if your questions don't get answered, because one or more will do. And I'm quite happy with the results of this, actually. There's a lot of variety in questions, and not as many personal questions as I wanted, but there you go. We still have a lot of wrestling-related questions, and as this is a wrestling-related channel, it makes perfect sense to have it. Now, I spent a minute rambling away. Let's get on with it then, shall we? Okay, let's see now. Rico H3, you asked me these two questions, which I have to do now because I have to. Have you ever been in a real fight? No, not really. I don't think anyone would say they've been in a real fight. I mean, would I call punching someone in the face routinely because they pissed me off a real fight? No. Seriously, if that's ever considered a real fight, then, well, it's me being in one then, but I have never really been in a real fight. I try and stray away from physical conflict as much as I can, because it's really not the best thing to go for. The other question you asked me, one of which I already answered later on in another question, but this one here, what is the craziest thing you've ever done in your life? Oh, again, I'm not one of those people who strives to do really crazy things. In fact, if anyone offers me to do something which I presume to be crazy or ridiculous or out of this world or insane, I don't even tend to do it, because predominantly I don't want to get scared shitless. I think the one thing I would say, I don't even know, I haven't done anything anyone would really consider crazy. You know, I really wish I could give a full answer. But again, I can't, unfortunately. I don't understand what is crazy and what I consider to be done is crazy. It just doesn't... I don't know what you consider crazy. I don't know what I consider as crazy, but maybe going on really big roller coasters. I don't know if that's crazy or not. I mean, I haven't really done anything that's legitimately ridiculous in any way or form, so unfortunately, I can't answer that. But hope I've answered both of these questions. I know one of them you asked me is answered later on, but still, there you go. I'm sorry I couldn't give them as much life as I do the others, but shit happens. First off, we have to start with the proverbial plethora of John Cena-related questions I get every single month. Mostly because, well, again, I always say it, he's the top face of the company, he needs to have the questions done first. First off, we have Shirororo Harurara asking, if John Cena was a third-generation superstar, would he be getting preferential treatment backstage like Randy Orton does? Now, obviously, Randy Orton being a third-generation superstar does have its perks. He's grown up in the industry, his dad is in the Hall of Fame, obviously, and in all fairness, he can pull more strings backstage than I think Cena ever could. And in all fairness, thinking about it, no wonder he gets preferential treatment. He has the right to say whose careers can die. I mean, look at Kofi Kingston's. His career's hit a bit of a rock bottom since he feuded with him. Mr. Kennedy got fired. I mean, the fact of the matter is, he's on 2 strikes and still gets put in main event level positions despite himself. That, ladies and gentlemen, should be the equivocal nature of preferential treatment, so to speak. Because, come on, if anyone else was on 2 strikes, they would not be put up that high. I mean, that's why Rob Van Dam, even though he is technically on... How many strikes is LVD on? 1 or 2? I don't know. But his record effectively got him removed as WWE champion. But if you are a third-generation superstar, you do have that ability of being able to say, look, I'm in the industry, I've got names who are in it, people are going to link it back to the history, I'm going to get more of a push, and more will be done. And the fact of the matter is, Backstage, a lot can happen. I mean, when your dad is in the Hall of Fame and he can tell Vince McMahon, after all he's done for him, to give his son some good treatment to make his career go somewhere, despite how meh he could be, it would be beneficial. I mean, I did say about Garrett Bischoff, he's got his dad in the business, but then again, Garrett Bischoff sucks ass. So I would say to anyone out there who is involved in the industry, who wants to get their younger siblings or their own offspring in the industry, please do state something about this. If they're rubbish at it, don't push for them to be in it. That's what I would say if I had someone I knew in the industry or whatever. That's how I'd do it anyway. Well, John Cena, you're kind of saying that he gets enough preferential treatment already. The reason why he gets what he gets is quite simply because he's a hard worker and Vince McMahon loves it. Do I even need to really say any more? Preferential treatment in terms of being able to basically get away with anything, I can understand if Cena was like Randy Orton, then it would make sense. But the thing is, John Cena would not want to get preferential treatment. He doesn't want to be treated differently. Just Vince McMahon just has a way of doing it that way. I'm just saying, folks, that's how it mostly works out. Now, John Kunkt gave me 2 questions which follow around the same line, and I wanted to answer them both in a row because they do kind of make sense. Obviously, John Cena is returning this upcoming week at Hell in a Cell to fight Alberto Del Rio for the championship. And this first question highlights this thusly. What if Cena was never injured? Do you think he would have put Bryan over since he wouldn't need to take time off? Or would he have just beaten Bryan to piss off the haters? Now, honestly, for my own idea, my own personal opinion on this, John Cena would have lost to Daniel Bryan whatever happens. Now, would that have impacted how the Money in the Bank cash-in went down? Who knows? I mean, sure, it was heightened more because he was injured and he needed to take time off, but because Bryan was getting so over and so hot with the crowd, they were going to push him regardless of what happened. They were going to make him the next big guy. Cena is humble enough to know when someone else is so big he needs to take over him even for a little while. And if he wasn't injured, he'd be fine just to let Daniel Bryan take the centre stage for a bit. Because then again, Cena would have gone after the world title or done whatever he needs to do. I mean, in all fairness, he probably could have taken on Triple H in a sparring war from that, maybe. You know, there's a lot of ways it could have been handled. And the thing with Bryan is, beating Daniel Bryan would have pissed a lot of people off. I know that. The fact of the matter is, there was a reason for Cena to win, but Bryan winning made more sense. And in fact, if Cena wasn't injured and Bryan did lose, I'd be then wondering, is Cena in on this? Is Cena now part of the conspiracy we have as the Corporation 2.0? The main question is, would he have turned heel? Knowing that we knew one person was going to turn heel, being Randy Orton, we did not know that Triple H was going to turn heel. So think about it, would Cena have done the same to make this giant, huge, blockbuster storyline something important? Who knows? I really don't know, folks, and it's just thinking out what could have happened, you know? But the problem is, when you look back, you have a time to analyse it all better, and it makes sense in one regard, but Bryan winning, it just would have made sense. It was going to happen. Bryan was going to win regardless of whether Cena was injured or not. It was kind of lucky, I'd say, that Cena was injured, and that's all I can really say on the matter. Your second question on this matter, regarding will Cena hog the main event spotlight from Bryan and ruin the storyline because Cena apparently, in your words, is always the centre of attention. Now, WWE have done the right thing by putting John Cena in this position as World Heavyweight Championship #1 contender. They've done a really good job with this, mostly because where else are you going to put him? He had a #1 contendership rematch due, and he obviously couldn't go into the middle of this damn feud and do something. And plus, not to mention the fact because he is the Golden Boy, and Alberto Del Rio has no #1 contender whatsoever. No one on SmackDown side, in fact, even anyone who's not in relation to the McMahon Corporation storyline could go up and have a go at him. I mean, Christian is out with a concussion, which is bad enough. We've got Dolph Ziggler, who is currently trying to fight off oppression in that. Not very well, because we don't see him do much. The problem with those two is they've already faced Del Rio this year. Now, if Sheamus was around, then it could be a different story, but Sheamus Del Rio already happened a year or two ago, and it would seem a bit lazy to put those two in the ring with each other. So what I would be saying, guys, is who else would they really have? I mean, putting John Cena with Alberto Del Rio makes sense. And not to mention the fact that regardless of whether Cena is #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship by definition of an announcement or not, he's not going to be main eventing the pay-per-view. If John Cena main events this upcoming pay-per-view based on his star power alone bringing fans in, then that will be ridiculous, because the World Heavyweight Championship is not a main event championship anymore. In fact, it hasn't been a main event worthy championship since around 2009, when the WWE Championship had much more prominence around it, and I think since then, it hasn't really been a main event thing. So I would say John Cena hogging the spotlight at this stage would be just ridiculous to even comprehend. John Cena is not going to hog the main event spotlight, because Bryan versus the Corporation is at the moment the number one storyline. Cena, the only relation Cena has is watching it from the sidelines. Unless he imperatively wants to help, there's going to be no fitting for him there at the moment, because Big Show is doing that. Big Show is in the role that John Cena, to be honest with you, would have been in. That's what I would have thought. That if Cena wasn't injured, he would be doing what Big Show is doing. Being made to look like a bitch and then going nuts. You know, that's what would have happened. You know? And honestly, that's probably how it's going to be. I'm sorry to say, but it's just not... Cena is not going to hog the spotlight. I'll put that there. Now, I'm going to stop the John Cena questions for a little moment, because I got questions here relating to Daniel Bryan that I had to kind of fit in somewhere. I didn't know where to put them in, but here we go. I've decided with this question to answer two at once, because they all revolve around the same kind of issue, but look at it in different ways. Now, one is a general overview, one is on a specific topic. Now, speaking of Daniel Bryan, Ray Lott asked, do you think WWE made a bad decision in making Brie Bella's engagement with Daniel Bryan public knowledge as part of the storyline? There's a yes and no to this for me. I personally like the idea of putting realism in, because realism in any story is what makes it so much more believable. I mean, that's the reason why any form of pro wrestling storyline is made better, because of it. If you can see through it and see the fakery, which we all do most weeks anyway, it'd be good to see that we can say, that ain't fake one bit. And that's going to be good for all of us. Yay! The thing is, with Brie Bella, she's not a very good actor. Not a very good actress. She's not very good at portraying emotions well. And you need that to highlight yourself as a good talent on air. Because if you're able to play with your emotions and make yourself ready for the right moment, then you're all good. If you're able to portray every emotion, it shows good psychology, and you can do what you can. The thing with Brie Bella is, she ain't very good at it. This past week, in the middle of the medical room, to be honest with you, what annoyed me about that segment is that those two were still standing in the corner, yelling, "Oh no, please don't hurt Daniel Bryan," and it just sounded really poor. Now, if they're going to utilise Brie Bella, at least, I know the man-on-woman violence thing has been a problem in the past, when Edge beat up Vicky Guerrero by pushing her out of a wheelchair a couple years ago, actually 3 or 4 years ago now, and that was censored on British television. You can't have a man pushing a woman around on WWE television, especially with a PG product. They were backed into a corner, figuratively and literally in this case, and nothing more. I mean, honestly, they could have done better. And in all fairness, they could have done better overall with the handling of this storyline in terms of Brie Bella's involvement, because now she's turned into a face, which I've said before, having the Bella Twins in any form as a face is a bad idea. It is a little bit of a bad decision because they haven't really used her right. They made Daniel Bryan have more hatred towards the corporation for picking on her as well and tying in the family tie to it all. But I honestly think if they used Brie Bella better, like maybe if the faction actually had a diva involved in the corporation that wasn't Stephanie McMahon, then I'd make sense of it. Then she could go after someone and be part of the power struggle. She puts away from her sister for once and do something for herself. But no, that's not going to happen. And Regina Nichgirl30 asked this part of the question, that what do you think about a wrestler's personal life being used in a storyline? And I've already said I enjoy it, but you said here, do you feel it lacks creativity? Now, I understand where you're coming from in this, Regina, 100%, is that, yeah, if you want to put personal things in storyline, it does show that you haven't got any ideas. But the one thing is that inspiration can come from anywhere in life, in an arts or creative medium. You are able to pluck anything from anywhere. I mean, the Simpsons premiere a couple of weeks back was based on Homeland. South Park had a whole bloody episode based on the idea of the George Zimmerman case and the idea of whether he was found guilty or not. That kind of thing. And you see, with creative idea that you have to make something out of thin air, with wrestling there is so much, as you know, there are so many storylines that have been done to death. So many types of feuds that have been done to death and continuously get rehashed because people know they're popular, good narratives. Putting a personal affliction in there could add some extra spice that a normal feud would not give if done by the wrong people. And that's the impressive thing here, is that it may lack a bit of creativity, but it adds that intensity which makes me love wrestling even more. Because any real-life storyline makes the emotion that much better. I mean, CM Punk, Jeff Hardy, do I even really need to say more? The Bret Hart-McMahon rivalry, do I even need to say more? The fact of the matter is, personal lives and storyline may seem a bit weak, but if done right, it just makes it all the more thrilling and even the more unpredictable because you have no idea what's going to come out of their mouths. And that's the reason why worked shoots are fantastic. It's the reason why many plethoras of personal lives and autobiographies and all these kinds of fantastic little elements added just make it that much better of an experience for us. And that's why I love it, you know what I mean. Zhao Pipoca asks, again back to the John Cena questions, will John Cena be face of the WWE, let alone still be wrestling at Hulk Hogan's age, or will he be working backstage like Arn Anderson as a producer or a trainer? John Cena, I don't think he's going to be wrestling too much longer, because if he keeps rebounding from these injuries ridiculously quickly, and his body will continue to break down over time, then he will not be able to do the job that he does. I mean, Hulk Hogan, at the age he is now, which is in his mid-50s, I don't think John Cena would still be wrestling in his mid-40s. I think he'd probably be wrestling until around about 41, 42 probably, and then that'll be the end of it for him. I could definitely see Cena being a trainer though, because we've already seen, he's a rehab machine. He's got the ability to rebound from injuries like no wrestler I have ever seen. And not to mention that, he also has the drive for success in the WWE. He's got the passion for it, and the dedication. Trying to tell a wrestler who is disgruntled to stick with what they can and make the most of it as a trainer would be brilliant. Not to mention his wrestling knowledge would be pretty good as well. So I would think he would definitely fit well as a trainer. As a producer, on the creative side and production side, probably not. Maybe as an ambassador, yes, but nothing else more. Cena will not be wrestling at Hulk Hogan's age, though. That is pretty much a bona fide guarantee. If he does end up still wrestling at 50-something, then I can tip my hat off to you, Zhao, because I really discounted it. And I would have been proven wrong, so that's all I can really say on that one. Grey Fox. What if John Cena held the championship from Unforgiven 2006 when he beat Edge in the TLC match until now? Would wrestlers and fans be irritated and hate him more than they do already? Yes, they would! I mean, I said before, the reason why a lot of people hate John Cena now is because they haven't seen someone long-term at the top of the company for so long. But then again, that's all well and good, but seeing him as champion for most of that run would be ridiculous. Then again, seeing a person hold the title for as long as San Martino in the modern era doesn't seem like it would happen in any way or form. WWE could tell the fans were getting disgruntled at Cena. They were. You can tell. The fans started losing interest around early 2007. Hell, even mid-2007 people were starting to boo him a bit. If he had been champion until now, you'd have to find all kinds of reasons to say John Cena remains champion by doing whatever. He'd have to resort to cheating at some point to keep that championship and then turn heel, which at this time of thinking would have been done many years ago. It wouldn't have been right to do it that way. But I just keep thinking, if John Cena had done that, yeah, the fans and wrestlers would be irritated. Fans because they haven't had any change, which is something they always apparently strive for, and then secondly because the wrestlers want to be able to go after the main championship. Then again, they got the World Heavyweight Championship, which would look better because everyone would be fighting for it. But then at the same time, people want to go after the main championship and prove they're the top people. And if they can't do that, they'll look for other opportunities elsewhere. So it would have been a really bad thing if it did happen. If it did happen, I would have been amazed if they could even pull it off. Because nowadays, with our attention spans and what the Attitude Era effectively did to our attention spans, kind of sucks, really, don't you think? Right, Leon Pasquiote. What if John Cena turned heel at the end of a pay-per-view? And on Raw the next night, he pretended to like all of the children and then shout to them, in your words, not mine, I hate every single one of you, you kids make me sick. How much heat do you think he'll get, and would the kids be heartbroken? Of course they'd be heartbroken, for the love of God. They worship whatever they're under. As kids, and after being one myself, everyone else has been, we love whatever we like religiously. It's what we do. We stand up for what we like, etc. If the thing that we like, one, gets really rubbish and we notice it, or decides to spit in our faces and take us for granted and make us look like crap, we will vent. We will not be happy. Most kids are when they don't get what they want. And if they like Cena being the good guy and he turns bad, some of them are going to be pissed. The adults are going to be angry too because their kids are now upset. And if they take it seriously, that is, because most adults who watch wrestling understand that it's all a sham, all a fix, all a charade, so to speak, and they will understand that it's actually a decent idea. But still, looking at their kid believe every single piece of kayfabe there is and go completely insane with anger and rage would be freaking funny. It would be really quite upsetting if you've actually got a kid who really bored his eyes out at it, but it would be something that would definitely happen, and he'd get a lot of heat for it. John Cena turning heel will generate some heat, because those parents will boo him because he's made their kids cry. The kids will boo him because they're crying. The problem with this is that when Cena finally turns heel, he is going to get a face reaction. Hulk Hogan didn't get a face reaction, despite some areas of the crowd hating him. And that's the thing. The difference now is that so many people in the crowds are anti-Cena, they're going to cheer it. They're going to cheer every single damn moment of it, which is annoying because you're going to start hating him when he's a heel as well. So why are you cheering for him? That's the thing. It annoys me that some of these fans who hate on John Cena being face are going to cheer him once being heel and then hate him again because he's a heel. Because he'll be a heel, what people think like Triple H, where he's going to just basically crush everybody. I don't understand why you'd think that way, and honestly, some fans really annoy me. If that's what they're going to do, then never mind. Speaking of Cena hatred, though, Kazuya Mishima asked me this one. Are you a fan of Cena's now? And why did you make the reasons I hate John Cena video a few years back? Now, I already explained during my vid versus John Cena haters that I came to the realization as to why I didn't like Cena in the first place. I was just following everyone else, being part of the internet crowd because I thought it would be nice to be part of a group of people who agree with what I think for a change. That was some years ago, and I thought, also at the same time, on my YouTube channel, I could get a ton of views and subscribers from this. Not to mention the fans would have wanted me to do it. Some of my fans would have definitely wanted to do it. And I did, and I got loads of views, despite the fact the video ended before the #1 spot because of a stupid YouTube technicality. Fuck you. So, honestly, I'm not really a fan of John Cena's, I just don't hate him. You know, I like what he's doing outside the business. I find that when he's in a good storyline and puts on good matches and good performances, I can go, yeah, well done Cena, well done for that. But a lot of people just don't even see that side either, and it kind of pisses me off a bit, as you know. But honestly, yeah, it was only really made a few years ago because, one, my subscribers would have been wanting to see what I think. Second, because it made me fit in with the whole internet crowd and not feel like a complete outcast of my own analysis and opinions. And third of all, because it just needed to be done. And to answer your other part, I'm technically not a complete fan of Cena, but I don't hate him, that's all I'll say. Speaking of those Cena haters, King Romeo said, you said that you hated, this isn't really a question, but it's more or less just a statement. You said you hated the Attitude Era nut jobs, but didn't you say that some of them are friends of yours? And you've also got Cena haters who are friends as well. I think you should have put explain after that, but that would have seemed like too much of a threat, more or less. Now the thing is, with Cena fans and the Attitude Era nut jobs out there, Cena haters and the Attitude Era nut jobs, I do not like the collective fan group as a whole. However, if you put up good reasons as to why, or reason, at least you show that you just don't like him, because of this, he's on top all the time. If you come up with other reasons, and put up a good argument for it, or in some cases don't prove to only have that opinion, basically, doesn't bother me at all. If Cena haters and Attitude Era nut jobs out there were kind enough to not just be so negative all the time, and the ones who have talked with me and sent me questions and sent me videos to look at, and people who were generally nice to me from both of those fan circles, I don't really mind what fan affiliations you have with either side. I don't care if you're on the hating side of the alignment or on the good side of the alignment, or even the middle end. As long as you don't just continuously spout negativity all over the place like both sets do, then I will get on with it. I'll be fine to call you guys friends and good people to talk to. You know, that's how I talk with some of you. Because some of you I know are some of the biggest Attitude Era nut jobs and Cena haters that I know out there. But you're nice people. Outside of that area, you are nice people who care a lot about professional wrestling and are willing to engage in this giant community more than just venting your anger. So, yeah, that's how it really sits with me. And I need to take a drink of water because I'm bloody thirsty. Got a long way to go with this. And your next question here, King Romeo, also on the subject of Cena, but this is now where the Cena questions end and where everything else starts to begin. Why don't Vince McMahon and John Cena change their entrance themes? They've already had them for, in inverted commas, 29 years now. You see, the reason why they have them is quite simple. They're iconic themes. I mean, Triple H has had the game up until recently, almost non-stop since 2001. And regardless of whether Rock's theme has stayed the same or not, the same iteration of it has been there since 2003, since he went from the Hollywood theme. So, the fact of the matter is, if a theme is regarded by many, it stays. I just don't know why Bret Hart's one needed a remix. In my opinion, the original outdid the newer one by a million and over. The fact of the matter is, their themes are so iconic, they cannot change. Now, John Cena's, you could say, could change, but I don't really care about it. I don't really care. It's a good theme. I mean, it doesn't beat Basic Thugonomics for me, but it's still a good song. It's a good theme song that highlights John Cena. His time is now. He is the top guy. I don't understand why he needed to do the Our Time Is Now in this year, because his time was now nearly a decade ago. So he doesn't need to use that tagline, but at the same time, the song fits and it's recognisable. People know it's John Cena, they know they're watching WWE if he's on the programme, and it's simple. And Vince McMahon's, well, the amount of emotion that comes out of that song, and just the opening riff, do we need to say more, really? No. Right, Cena questions are out of the way, let's get on to the other ones regarding every other area of wrestling. Yay! Nintendo Fanboy 1988 asks, what did you think of Mr. McMahon tearing his quad when he marched to the ring at the 2005 Royal Rumble, staying in character despite great pain? I thought it was kind of funny, because I mean, when I watched this at the time, I had no idea he had just torn his quad, so it was pretty freaking hysterical, because I had no idea what was going on. But why are you sitting down? The fact that he wasn't screaming in pain highlights the guy has got a good pain threshold, plus balls of steel. Not to mention the fact that if anyone else did, they would be completely on the floor in agony, going mad. The fact that the entire ending of that match was completely unscripted highlights again just how ridiculous WWE can get and how good McMahon can be in that situation. I mean, come on, he wouldn't have needed to go out to the ring if I think it was meant to be Batista throwing Cena out, or vice versa. I can never remember which one actually needed to win the damn Rumble. I think it would have been Batista anyway, but who knows. The fact of the matter is, the fact that this was completely unscripted and he actually went out there and had to do this because there was no other choice of a random ending, it was kind of awesome to see McMahon do that. I do now, looking back on it, do get a good laugh out of it, and it is technically a wrestle botch. It is a botch that technically shouldn't have even been there in the first place. So the entire ending of that match is a botch. So the problem is you look at it and say that's impressive, but you also look at it and say it's massively hilarious at the same time. So I would literally not venture too far in on that. Really wouldn't. Now, Cranlow Ranlow puts this one. Where did you see the McMahon limo explosion storyline going had Benoit not died? Now, of course, I don't really know where this was going, because a lot of people were saying they were going to find somebody was going to say that they caused the explosion to happen. They would either be the biggest face in the world for blowing up Vince McMahon, or they were going to be heels knowing they had done it with malice and forethought. Now, I don't really know where that could have gone, because of course they were going to say Mr. Kennedy was going to be the one to cause it because he was sick of Vince McMahon running his mouth and just being an ultimate douchebag, and it could have been anyone. This is where the great mystery was going to come in, because you saw the line of people he walked through before getting into that limousine before it exploded. It could have been bloody anyone. And hell, Paul London was smiling when that happened, and when McMahon came back, he got ridiculed and beaten up through hell for it. So you see what I mean? There's a lot of ambiguity around it. But had McMahon come back from the dead anyway, that would have been a thing. I would have said Mr. Kennedy probably would have been the main guy, but, you know, I don't really understand where it could have gone, because that's the one thing. The Benoit tragedy overshadowed that to the point where I wasn't really thinking about where the storyline would have gone. And I know if the Benoit tragedy had not have happened, we would have seen this storyline have reached its epic crescendo like it was going to, but I mean, I probably would have seen Mr. Kennedy becoming WWE champ, because of course he did have the Money in the Bank briefcase. He would have used it, and even though he would have been found out to have caused the explosion, he would have won the championship, and then the entire major WWE establishment would have gone after him. That would have been interesting, but I don't really see much else, because they weren't really pushing anyone else, apart from Bobby Lashley at the time, and fucking hell, what were they going to do with Bobby Lashley? Who knows? Nonetheless, it would have been Kennedy winning the championship and probably becoming a new big face for the company or something. I don't really know. It's something that I've never really given much thought. I never really have given it much thought, because every time I think back to that limo explosion storyline, the Benoit tragedy is always the next thing that follows. So, I wouldn't have gone too far. I don't really know, in all fairness, to be honest with you. Okay. This next one, however, does come from relating to the offshoot for where that storyline did end up going. Because, of course, we had the illegitimate son storyline, which involved Hornswoggle, which really should not have been Hornswoggle. Fuck you, Kennedy, for getting injured again. This is quite interesting. Largest85 asks me this: did you think Finlay turned into a joke when he turned face? And what did you think of him being the storyline father of Hornswoggle? Finlay. You turning face was a shit idea. Just to put it out there. Because him as a heel, he was a natural heel. Aggressive, up his own arse, and just basically going out there and kicking ass day in, day out. As a heel, couldn't have really asked for too much. The fact of the matter is that the leprechaun is what made him turn face in the first place. The fact that they revisited it, the little bastard gave a little bit of pop to the heel character. But the fact that he had to revisit it as a face just annoyed me. I did not like Hornswoggle. You know, guys, I've never liked Hornswoggle. The fact of the matter is, when Hornswoggle was drafted to Raw, or whether Finlay was drafted to ECW, I can't remember exactly which way around it was, on ECW, when Finlay had to sing that Goodbye Irish song to him, and the lyrics didn't change on the top of the screen, and he was singing the same verses when it was different, and it was really embarrassing. Finlay just took a downward spiral from that point on, and it ruined what was a good character for him. He should never have turned heel, in my opinion, but honestly, Hornswoggle just got really popular for reasons I cannot explain. I mean, why was he even... See, if Kennedy wasn't injured, this entire idea would not have even happened, and it would have just been a lot better for all of us. It's one of those things in hindsight I could look back and say it would have been much better if he was not the illegitimate son. They could have taken the storyline somewhere, but then they dropped a giant massive turd on top of it, and that's exactly what happened. Why not take a really negative situation stemming from a real-life tragedy and try and upturn it into something positive and something happy and funny? That's not normally how it works. You can do it for a lot of tragedies, but not for this one. Not for the Benoit tragedy. Trying to make a storyline positive just to get away from the negativity that came from wasn't a good idea. Oh, I can't stop drinking this water. I'm bloody thirsty. Right. I couldn't tell... I know that your YouTube channel URL says Sandman3220, but you're also under the title of the M Ranters now. Of course, you gave me these questions on Twitter just earlier today, because I'm awesome like that, just to say I'm going to record the Q&A now, give me your questions in, and Twitter just basically annoyed you. So yes, the M Ranters with your first of 3 questions. I think you're one of the only people who's actually had all of their questions answered but they're all pretty interesting ones. That's the reason why I picked them. What do you hate in the WWE now? That's an interesting question because it's, one, very broad, and second, because I am usually a very positive, not very opinionated guy nowadays. I try and keep on the straight and narrow and find a positive and a negative for every single thing I look at. With the case of this question, however, I have to think, do I need to be positive? Hell no. I can be as negative as I bloody well want. First off, quite simply, and I have to say this with a lot of reasons, people can agree with me on this one, the mid-card, actually the upper mid-card downwards, are being ignored because of the current storyline at the top of the company. That annoys me because it shows shallow thinking by the creative team. I'm not a fan of that. I want to see the rest of the wrestlers be given a reason for something, and that's one of the things. If the whole company is going to be underneath the entire corporation storyline, utilize them all. Put the heels on the corporation side and the face on the normal side. Do that. Don't just take any of your ideas off some of them. Don't just go on, attack a few of them, and leave the rest to just be there with no reasoning. It doesn't look real. It doesn't look realistic at all. And I've just got pins and needles in my foot 33 minutes through a Q&A. Fuck! Anyway, that's not one thing I didn't hear. The pins and needles is nothing to do with this question. Fuck my life, that's not good. Anyway, next point. And I got this from an online news article the other night, that they've got a new morality standard in the contracts now, where you can't have any inappropriate videos or photos or opinions anywhere online before you hire yourself with the WWE. You've got to promise them, with your honesty, that they're going to be gone from the internet, from public view. And if they're not, they won't hire you. Or if you they will blacklist you. They will blacklist you if they believe anything that you have done is considered morally unpleasant. What? Divas posing for nudie magazines? All because it goes against their family-friendly bandwagon. Now, okay, I've said my positives about the PG rating in recent times. I'm fine with it. But hiring people based on their morality, of their good morals? Okay, sure. Not hiring a person because they've got a convicted murder charge is perfectly understandable. But just because they've done something else in their life, job-wise, which they don't agree with, or said something which the WWE themselves is... It's ridiculous. To see this happen is mind-blowing. To think that, you said something controversial on a blog that we don't agree with, therefore we're not going to hire you, or we have you on a YouTube video criticizing our company. We can't have you in our company for you criticizing us, or being part of Playboy. That's the image of what we want from you. We want you to be much nicer. Oh, for fuck's sake, being family-friendly content-wise is one thing. Being family-friendly from every single stretch of your company is different. I know people can criticize a company for their morals nowadays, but come on, the morals of one thing does not typify the morals of an entire corporation. There are hundreds, nay, thousands of people working within corporations around the world in one building or one facility. The viewpoint of one should not categorize them all. And that's just me. Freedom of expression and freedom of association with anything you've done should be your right. And to have that being taken away by WWE management in contract form as a legal sign of employment is ridiculous. I heard this last night. In fact, I put a Twitter up saying, this is the kind of thing I could make a whole video about. But I decided to employ it in this question because it makes sense. It's a ridiculous construct, and it's awful. What I also don't like, and I've said this countless times before, is the touring schedule. I've been against the touring schedule since I really got a mind, and I realised that these tours happen every single time they're not doing a Raw or SmackDown. The moment I realised that, I have been against the touring schedule, and I've been against the medical consequences that come from it. I don't like the fact that it stretches the roster. I don't like the fact that it can injure people unnecessarily. Bray Wyatt. Look at that. Bray Wyatt was about to go into a feud with The Miz and advance himself further, and he's injured now. Brilliant. We don't get to see the payoff for that match for another month. It's annoying, it's irritating, and ridiculous. The next one I don't like how the divas are basically have no real reason to be on TV at all. I don't understand why they're there. If they're there promoting a TV show, don't put them on the product. Don't put it's like the Tough Enough guys. The only time you put a Tough Enough guy on the show was when the winner won it and was presented his contract before being beaten up. I mean, come on. The fact of the matter is, these divas technically should not be part of the show if they're not really wrestling on it. Because AJ isn't doing much. She isn't wrestling matches on Raw and SmackDown. She's just sitting there cackling while Brie Bella gets her ass kicked. You know, that's one of the reasons why I keep saying to myself, women's wrestling just isn't that important for WWE. The only reason they've got it on TV, really, is because Total Divas gives them publicity, and people might turn into WWE to see them. I don't know. It's just irritating for me. I'm not being sexist in any way. I just find women's wrestling at its moment in time really doesn't have a place on the product, and why it's there beats me. I don't really know why. I wouldn't mind seeing some female wrestlers on the program because they're wrestling and having a reason to, like going after a championship and having good storylines wrote for them, but they're not. And just because they're mostly eye candy, it makes it even worse, because I don't give a shit about that. What else do I not like? Rey Mysterio not announcing his retirement? Seriously, you're so banged up you can't even tell if you retired or not. And finally, quite bluntly I'm going to say this, I just don't understand, for the life of me, why they're doing anything outside of WWE wrestling. Now, I know why, because their money is declining, they want to go through different avenues to prove they're a multimedia corporation, a multimedia conglomerate, not a wrestling conglomerate, because that sounds really bad in modern day, because wrestling has a very bad shadow over it. Like, we all know it does, but come on, for the love of God, there is no reason to spend your money on films. There is no reason to be involved in bloody goodwill campaigns. I've said this before. I've had loads of other people saying, why the hell dedicate time to especially every October, to Breast Cancer Month, when technically it is technically sexist. When a man can't get a screening to check if he's got breast cancer, you're supporting it all around, everywhere. And you don't need to support breast cancer on your product all over it. You don't need to do films, you don't need to do albums, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to do music album distribution, you don't need to do anything. Just focus on the wrestling. If the XFL taught you anything, you do not go on anything else. Because it's ridiculous. And that's why the reason why Total Divas shouldn't be there. Because it's not really wrestling, it's reality bloody television. Completely separate in relation to product. Professional wrestling and reality television. Retarded. And honestly, guys, I don't want to rant like this and be ultra negative, because I hate doing that. But that's the question asked, and that's what you're going to get. Final Limits has 2 questions here, resulting around wrestling gear. Now, you asked me this first question, that why did faces like Brutus the Barber Beefcake and Bret Hitman Hart wear colourful attires to their matches in the 80s and 90s? Well, of course, because Vince McMahon liked the idea that these characters were larger than life. They were colourful personalities. It kind of makes sense that they were over the top attire-wise. The reason why Macho Man technically worked, in fact it was the only one that really did work, is the fact that he was so ridiculously ridiculous and messed up in the head of it with his voice and his random way of speaking and just being loud in general, and the eccentricities came about. He needed something loud to go with that. Bret Hart, I think the pink and black just made him stand out. That's the thing. The faces stood out because they were wearing so much random eccentric crap. And it made sense. I mean, the heels were derided because they weren't as lively, as well as the fact they were also bad guys. So it kind of makes sense in a way. Making them wear colourful attires so they get noticed and people cheer for them. And they copied them and go, oh, I'm in a wrestling scene and I can be really happy and everything, yay! And it's just a bit of fun, I suspect. Your other question is, what are some of your favourite wrestling gear, male or female, from past and present? Now, I don't normally notice it. I have to say, Daniel Bryan's, or Danielson's in general, has been pretty freaking sweet. I mean, I'm sure they're just trunks, but the dragon designs, come Can't go wrong with the Dragon design. I found over time Triple H's attires have just been getting really simple, but again, it's just simple. The logo is just definitive, and having that giant H logo on the back, it's just a fun little logo design to have on there. Other attires, Fandango's attires are pretty damn awesome, yet weird at the same time. I'm not really sure why. Past Shawn Michaels' old attire with the broken hearts on the tights were quite interesting. I always found that to be very eye-catching. The NWO logo plastered on just about everything. Scott Hall was there. You don't need to really say much. I just want to go for something simple for every giant who wears a black singlet. I don't know why, but it's just an iconic attire and piece of wrestling gear that until you saw Great Khali come out in these giant trousers, you really haven't seen giants wear much else as an attire. I mean, unless you count Giant Gonzalez's massive bodysuit, or the Giant Haystacks or Haystacks Calhoun's denim, or Hillbilly Jim's denim for that matter, or even Yokozuna's sumo attire. You don't really see much else from giant wrestlers, and that's always kind of interesting. It's always an eye-catching reminder. If you're a giant, you're pretty much going to wear something along those lines. If not, it can be like Brodus Clay, which again, a very eye-catching attire. Very eye-catching because it's different. Very different from everything they have. And there's one more I want to mention as well, but I can't effing remember it. Mick Foley's. Because the flannel shirt, I just remember every damn time I see it. It's something awesome. You combine a picture of his face on one shirt and a flannel on the other. It's an iconic thing that, again, you just keep remembering, and it just works. Also, Randy Orton's had some pretty good ones. Just having Orton on the back of his trunks with the serpentine bit going around the front. It is very recognisable to me, and I do like the look of it. Again, most attires are most wrestling attires are very simple, and wrestling gear are very simple. And honestly, that's all I can really say. It's very simple, and I can't go too far than that. This question was from a Twitter user under the name of Ryan Peter Wentz, who asked, if you could bring back 3 wrestlers from between 1980 and 1990 in their prime to the modern day, who would they be? Mr. Perfect, without a shadow of a doubt, because the guy could fucking wrestle, talk, and have the charisma to get by on everything else, would need a character like him in the WWE today. I would like to see Macho Man around in his prime today, because we need that bit of eccentricity, that proper eccentricity that made the personality. And I would love to just see, because I do like him as a wrestler, Tito Santana. Because of a light heavyweight who is very enthusiastic, very charismatic, and I'd love to see what they would have done with him as a heel nowadays as well. I would like to have seen it. But yeah, those are the 3 I would like to bring back, for me. Nature Girl 30 asked me this one. Well, Regina, your second question here. Yay! Name your favourite era and era-founded match in WWE history. Now, you're saying to me, era-founded match. Do you mean a match that was found in an era that you can locate to being found in a specific era? If that is what you're saying, then I would go for either Hell in a Cell or Buried Alive from the New Generation era. Mostly because I love the Buried Alive match, have always done. I like the premise around it, plus because it's based around Undertaker, I can go nuts with it. And second, they're just really iconic, bloody, violent matches that should technically typify the end of a feud. They are, to me, the matches that defined an ender when I was growing up, because, yeah, the Shawn Michaels Triple H Hell in a Cell being the first one I ever saw as part of a storyline when I was watching. And then you, of course, had Buried Alive match against Vince and Undertaker. I mean, to me, those 2 matches personified the end of a feud and the cataclysm from me supporting who I want to support in a feud when I was younger, watching the product. And they work. I mean, the fact that they were founded a decade before I started watching highlights it even more. And my favourite era I'm being biased here, but Ruthless Aggression. I have to say it because I've said it before, it is the middle ground between the wrestling ability of New Generation and the attitude of the Attitude Era, the antics, the storyline-driven plot lines, the narratives. It was all a combination of the 2. And I look back on it and just say, even though I'm anti-nostalgia in many ways, it works. Because you had those 2 completely separate eras, one of wrestling and absurd characters, with Attitude Era, blood, violence, and over-the-top risque storylines and narratives. Combine both together and you pretty much get what this is. And that's because I grew up with it, I have an immense goodwill about it. The others, I won't be able to say as much good with the others because I didn't grow up with them. With Ruthless Aggression, that is my era. Like the WWE, like the Universe era is this one. I wouldn't be able to say I enjoy this era, but the Ruthless Aggression era just combined the two things that I like about wrestling. Intense, well-written story on one end, and good wrestling and a bit of good character development on the other. Those two combined made Ruthless Aggression to me why I love it so much. And it worked out today. Next, from Roy Poon, who asks, what do you think of Scott Hall and Jake the Snake Roberts getting their lives together with help from DDP? Now, this is superb. I will say this to any wrestling fan out there. If you do not get a smile on your face and feel happy about this, then I don't know why the hell you are watching. And I say the why the hell are you even watching line now and again, occasionally. But this is where I legitimately mean it. Because Scott Hall and Jake the Snake Roberts, two of the best wrestlers to never win the world title in WWE, and two of the best wrestlers all round that WWE have seen in the last 20-something years. The fact of the matter, 20-30 years, I should say. The matter of fact that they were close to death, both of them, from alcohol and other dependencies, and their issues with their addictions towards them. The fact that they're on the road to recovery, which we thought we would never see, is a miracle. Especially with Scott Hall, because he was nearly dead. He was pretty much on his last life, his last chance, but right when DDP came along, right when Jake the Snake Roberts told him to get Scott on it. Because if it wasn't for Jake getting DDP to do it, Scott Hall might technically be dead right now. And Jake the Snake Roberts would have probably died years ago if he had not gotten his addiction into order. And DDP, you are fantastic for doing this. It'll make every wrestling fan immensely proud of the brotherhood that there is and that exists between wrestlers as friends, not just acquaintances. And I find that brilliant to see. And if you don't find that brilliant, that even after years of negative publicity, we get a wrestler legitimately doing something, which is magnificent in every regard. If you don't find a good reason to support that, if you can't support that, then I'm thinking to myself, I don't normally have a moral compass, but I'm just saying, do you have one if you don't like the fact that two wrestling legends who were near death got their lives put back together? It's wonderful, and DDP, I tip my hat off to you. You, sir, are, in my regards, the most inspirational wrestler of 2013, and that's what Wrestling Man Award you're going to be getting at the end of the year. Gray Fox asked me this one. Who, in your opinion, is to blame for Owen Hart's death? And had he not been given that Blue Blazer gimmick, would he still be alive and joined his brother in WCW after he would have left WWE, or F at the time? Now, this is a quite conscientious issue, because obviously a lot of people will blame whoever for the death. They would say, Vince McMahon came up with the idea, or Vince Russo had the idea, or blame the guy who didn't tighten the bloody pulley system well enough, blame the idea of even having the Blue Blazer gimmick in the first place. The fact of the matter is, I would probably blame Russo because he came up with the gimmick idea. He decided to have him re-emerge as the Blue Blazer. Remember, Owen Hart was the Blue Blazer when he first arrived in the WWF. Then, of course, they thought, you know what, he's having a bit nuts in his character, he's having a bit of a crisis, put him back in the Blue Blazer gimmick. On that term, I would blame Russo for bringing the gimmick back. But then again, it would be quite callous of me to do that, because Russo, how would he have known this would have happened? Because he usually did not make an entrance dropping from a zip line or a pulley system to the ring. It wouldn't have done. It wouldn't have happened normally. So why was it done here? Maybe we can blame the creative team on that front. But again, it would seem a bit callous in doing so. So you can it wouldn't have failed if the thing had not been secured properly. So you can only really blame the guy they employed to do that job. But then, of course, if you link it back, it goes to WWE regardless. So no, you can't really put blame on anyone. It was a freak accident that just happened. You can't really blame anyone, even though I've tried to just now and just try to justify it. It's hard to blame anyone because it's just part of a business process. Owen Hart would have agreed to it. He would have had to agree to make this spot happen. He would have given the green light that everything was fine for the spot to happen. So all the blame could go back to Owen. So you see what I mean? There's no real clear area to define who caused Owen Hart's death. And the fact of the matter is, again, I'm saying this quite true. Had it not been for the return of the Blue Blazer gimmick, he would still be alive. That's one thing I can guarantee. If he hadn't revisited that gimmick, he would have still been alive. But would he have gone to WCW? No. You see, he was close to leaving anyway. I mean, if he would have only lasted a year or so more under the WWF banner before retiring and living the rest of his life with his family like he wanted to. So I don't think he would. Because the thing is, he would have joined WCW the moment the Montreal Screwjob happened. Once that happened, he would have been there, just like the rest of them. So it seems a bit ridiculous to think he would join in 1999 when WCW were going down the tubes. It wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have made any sense. I've got long to go, but I've got a little while to go. This thing is still kicking my ass. WCW 3 Count 1 2 3 asked me, what did you think of Simon Dean, the man formerly known as Nova from the BWO and ECW? Now, I found the gimmick to be really quite interesting. I found it to be quite original for a start. I mean, seeing a fitness trainer guy, I mean, it's a gimmick I haven't seen before or since. So the gimmick came across as quite original. But the execution of it, shut up, phone. The way that it came across on TV, though, it was quite awkward. I could tell in a way that no matter how much Simon Dean tried to portray the character well, it just came across as more annoying than anything different. The fact that SmackDown had Simon Dean and Raw had Kerwin White, two gimmicks which were annoying and, to be honest with you, should not have even been made in the first place. But the originality of that fitness guru idea, it had potential. I mean, if Bobby Lashley started off as a heel with him and then turned on him after being the Simon System freakazoid and then break off saying, you've sold me this crap, it doesn't even work, I haven't done anything that's gone anywhere different, that would have played off better. You know, but they got the Gemini brothers and it just lacked imagination. He was just trying to sell us this crap and be the most irritating heel known to man. And it worked on one regard, but it was so annoying that we didn't really hate him. We just hated him for being out there. Not hating him because the gimmick was original and or sucked. The fact of the matter is, it was interesting in my view, but they could have handled it a lot better. Ray, and here's Ray. Yay! Ray, there's your next question. Why the hell did Zack Ryder lose his woo woo woo, you know it aspect to the gimmick? And do you think it's because he doesn't really care? I think, to be honest with you, he doesn't really care where his gimmicks or anything is going now, because the Long Island IC show is over. He hasn't been on TV in a meaningful feud for months, and, you know, it just, to me, quite bluntly, seems like he just lost all hope. I mean, no wonder he's continuously slagging WWE off on Twitter. The fact of the matter is, the guy hasn't had a good push for a couple of years now, and he wants to be doing something. And I can fully understand his frustration with that. But, I don't know, maybe WWE just thought, you know what, he's just being himself now. He hasn't got a gimmick on it, he's just being him. Because if you're a jobber most weeks, you don't really need a gimmick. Nintendo Fanboy 1988, if you saw Big Show doing a moonsault or a 450 splash, how would you or any fan react to it? Now, I was debating this with a friend of mine, actually my housemate downstairs when I actually received this question. I was saying I didn't know if he'd actually done it, but then I remembered it was Vader who did the moonsaults. Now Vader, of course, was smaller than Big Show. He had an athleticism and the ability to bend his short legs with enough just to get the moonsault rotation done. Big Show couldn't have done that. Big Show could not have been able to get enough rotation because gravity would have brought his weight straight down. And that's the thing. It would if we did see it, we'd be reacting like nuts, thinking, "What the fuck is this?" But at the same time, I know it's a fantasy question, but at the same time, it's one of those fantasy questions which it could happen if Big Show was a little bit skinnier, but then he wouldn't have been called Big Show. So, would have been a little problem there. Kamari Ronso asks, do you think the crowds ruin gimmicks by chanting Goldberg at Ryback and Husky Harris at Bray Wyatt? Also, do you think that pisses off the wrestlers as well on the inside? I hate the crowds chanting that. Oh wow, I'm a smart fan, I know who they were before, I'm so smarkish. Smarks, that's the reason why WWE doesn't like you. It's the reason why they don't like people like me who do decent analysis, because we're all banded in with the rest of you who chant these bullshit things. I don't care that Ryback was built like Goldberg at the start of his career and is in a prominent position and still looking like him. I don't care that Husky Harris was what Bray Wyatt was. I don't care that Michael McGillicuddy used to be the name of Curtis Axel. And I don't give a shit. Positive progression in professional wrestling is brilliant. The fact is, when Rock turned into The Rock, they didn't shout Rocky Maivia at him repeatedly, did they? When Rock started becoming popular, they didn't chant that crap at him. And people chanting Primo and Epico at the Los Matadors, again, hands the same thing. You, smarks, who do it, stop it, because it's stupid. I know Goldberg versus Ryback would be a match which, to be honest with you, even I want to see that. Just to see how good it would be. But honestly, it is retarded to even contemplate that you do this because you think you're smart. It makes you look stupid. Just because you know this doesn't mean you can project it across to the crowd, because some people may go, who? Casual fans might. Casual fans might recognise them and go, oh, okay, different person. He's probably taken on a different identity entirely. I'll just live with it. That's how most wrestling fans do it, for the love of God. And I think it would upset them. They've taken so much time to build up a new gimmick, a new persona, and to have it completely shot down, that would be it would be awful, because it highlights it's not working. And that's not very good. Although it is working. These two gimmicks, especially Ryback and Bray Wyatt, work. Just people are really stupid. Nintendo Fanboy 1988, your next question here. Was Booker T buried by Triple H at WrestleMania 19? I heard he was supposed to win the title from Triple H, but due to politicking, he didn't. Now, I always thought that Booker T got buried because he was getting quite a big popular rise at the time. But the one thing that I think Mark Pearson's review kind of let me on to is that, was Booker T big enough to topple Triple H? Was he really on the rise to the point where him winning would have made sense? No. Because Booker T was not feuding with Evolution like Shawn Michaels was in the build-up to this WrestleMania. He wasn't anywhere near anything. He just won a match in February. There was no pre-run storyline. There was no reason. If they'd had a match prior to this, and Booker T reprised with some revenge, then, like Shawn Michaels had done countless times, then yes, I could see it. But Booker T... Okay, sure, it was made from the beginning of the feud that Booker T was going to win it, but then it was never really continued outside of this. I think that Booker T winning wouldn't have done anything for Raw. It would have done, because Triple H was the main guy. He would have won. It would have been him as champion by the next pay-per-view anyway. And sorry if the noise gets a bit loud. Lots of cars come past the window. It's only single glazed. Hope you guys haven't been annoyed by that throughout, but there's just so many cars behind a bus at the moment. It's kind of irritating. At the 1 hour mark, that's a sour moment to note. Fucking cars. Anyway, fact of the matter is, Booker T to me just wasn't over enough to be considered the top guy on Raw. That's all I'm going to say. It looks like, and you could hear it, the people thought, well, put this on him. We need to give him some prominence. He's had a good build up since as he came into WWF. He's done good. Come on. But of course, while he was popular, if it was RVD winning in Unforgiven 02 based on the run in 2002 that he had, then that would make sense. Because RVD was over as fuck. And it would have made more sense then, but no. It wouldn't. It didn't happen, and we know why. Next, this one's got 2 in 1. Because again, I've been asked one question about something, and then another question's come up on a similar line. Now, the M Ranters asked me this one. What are your thoughts on the Real Americans? Now, of course, they're a team who I do enjoy. I do like Zeb Coulter. I like Jack Swagger's wrestling ability. I like Cesaro's wrestling ability. But the one thing about them I just don't like is that they haven't been, it's like most teams in recent years who are prominent. Like Awesome Truth. Like Rhodes Scholars. Like, I would say even before they turned face, the Primetime Players. They have not won tag team gold despite placing their dominance. The Shield did it right. These guys haven't. I would want to see Jack Swagger winning the US or Cesaro winning the US title and being part of this. They haven't got any success to validate themselves. Fucking lorries. Each wrestler in a faction needs to win gold to validate themselves. Each member of a tag team to highlight their dominance of a division may need an extra title. The fact they haven't is ridiculous, especially knowing how good the wrestlers in this tag team are. And it was with Zeb Coulter getting immediate heat out of people. I mean, it may be cheap, but it's good. I'm just saying, folks, it's annoying. Like that car is. It's going to keep happening. I might as well stop thinking about it. Fact of the matter is, Real Americans are a good team, but I just don't think they're being utilised properly. I want them to win something. I want them to be a good tag team. Like many tag teams that I've liked heel-wise over the years that haven't been given their place, give them their place for the love of God. Now, Jalpa Poker asked me this one. Why is Cesaro teaming with Coulter and Swagger even though he isn't American? It's like Del Rio, a Mexican, being in a group of Japanese wrestlers called Japanese Takeover. It doesn't make any sense. People say it doesn't make sense, but if you remember the storyline back when Cesaro originally linked up with Zeb Coulter, it was because he, as a Swiss national in the US, had a green card. And a green card, because US guys, you know, a green card, for those of you who don't know, is their sign of employment and legality in the country because you've lived here for a certain amount of time. You've been living here / working here for so long. You've been given your green card. You can do what you want. You can do what you need to do to keep you in here to survive. And the fact of the matter is that because Cesaro is there legally, and he hated the evil side of America like Zeb Coulter did, it was a match. He was legal in the country, and he didn't like very negative aspects of American society that he believed are rampant. Put 2 and 2 together, it fits. Now I know that of course he's not American, but he's taking on the motif that he feels American by being what Zeb Coulter wants. And that's the thing. It makes sense because they actually made that apparent. At the beginning of this entire thing with the tag team, that was what was made apparent. That Antonio Cesaro is what Zeb Coulter believes an American should be. Legal and have every right to remove all the scum from the society. That's how the gimmick is for him. And the fact that Antonio Cesaro is part of that highlights that it is a successful thing. Now, if Del Rio, for some reason, got involved in a Japanese team for embracing the culture and liking Japan and wanting to it, then most wrestlers who have been over in Japan would be part of that too. You see what I mean? It's all about whether they fit the criteria that the tag team or faction highlight for themselves. If you fit that criteria, you're pretty much in. Like most clubs and societies, to be honest with you. I've got an itch now. Everything's going wrong. Pins and needles, cars, itchy nose, thirst. Yay. I've still got loads of questions to go. Yay! I love the Q&As, but sometimes it's just a tiring thing to do a video this long at this volume. Yay. Anyway, next up. Cranlo Ranalo asks, what did you think of the Mexicals and then coming out on lawnmowers? Was it too stereotypical from WWE to do that? Now listen, I have seen WWE push the stereotype envelope way out. Mexicals, yes, they were quite a bad stereotype, especially knowing that they were either luchadors or that. In which case, yeah, it was kind of stereotypical, but was it too stereotypical? No. Kenzo Suzuki and Himeko were stereotypical. William Regal, stereotypical. Rene Dupree after he broke off from La Resistance, stereotypical. Fact of the matter is, guys, sure, it might have been reflective of Mexican culture, but seeing those celebrations that Alberto Del Rio has with mariachi bands and piñatas all over the place when he won his world title a couple of times, that's stereotypical. Sure, it may be modern day stereotypical for the Mexicals, running up on lawnmowers saying, oh, Mexicans are illegals in this country, they're therefore doing yard work for people who are richer and better off. It makes sense, it fits the stereotype bracket, but it's not so stereotypical as you making a whole nation surround that stereotype. That's not what people mostly view Mexicans as. So therefore it's not a stereotype for me. They've done it a lot worse, I will tell you that. Not to mention their theme song was nice too. And plus riding out on lawnmowers, and perhaps the fact the lawnmowers had one deer on the side made me chuckle every single damn time. So yeah, it was stereotypical, but not so stereotypical I can call it a legitimate, proper, full-fledged stereotype. Americans got that stereotype a little bit, but foreigners might not. Who knows? Maybe they just liked lawn gear and thought it'd be interesting way of getting the ring on. Who knows? Who knows, people? So those people who make couches and motors run on and toilets run on motors and wheels. You know, it's like those kind of people. They do whatever you want to ride around on something, as long as you're comfortable. Large 85. What if Muhammad Hassan was a tag team partner of the Iron Sheik in the 80s instead of Nikolai Volkov, with Daivari as manager instead of Freddie Blassie? How much heat would they get, knowing Daivari would be shouting in Arabic the whole time? Now, this is the one thing that I have to say. Now, if Iron Sheik was around when Muhammad Hassan was around, then I would say yes, they would get so much heat, because Hassan got heat for being a wrestler from the in character terms, from the Middle East, in a time in post 9/11 society when Middle Eastern people are sectioned and discriminated against in Western cultures. That is pretty much why it was such a successful gimmick in the first place. And the only reason why Nikolai Iron Sheik was obviously hated regardless, because he was from Saudi Arabia, a place with no human rights whatsoever. Or no, there was Iran, Saudi Arabia, that kind of area. And Iran, thanks to the UN, the hostage crisis. Thanks to the hostage crisis, that's what made Iron Sheik so hated, because he came from the same region as that. Same thing with Nikolai Volkov coming from the Soviet Union, where the Cold War was going on. Politically, that's what made that tag team work, because they were hated because of where their country's real-life political areas were. That's why Muhammad Hassan worked nowadays. And Freddie Blassie, well, he was just the guy who could manage anyone and get a good heat reaction from them. The fact of the matter is, it wouldn't work, because Muhammad Hassan, the political implications of Hassan would not have been there. Muhammad Hassan, I can't even remember which area of the Middle East his character was from. I can't remember where that was. You know, it could have been Egypt for all I know. Then that would have been a stereotypical thing if I'd gone on that route. So yeah, I don't know. I think it wouldn't have worked. It would have been interesting, but I would have thought it just politically it would have not made sense. And that's exactly where it highlights itself. The M Ranters, your last question here. Do you wish the Intercontinental Championship would move back to its old design? There is a bit of me that really harkens back to that design, but I like the white belt. It makes it look unique. It reminds you of the old history of the whole belt. It gives you good memories of everything that IC title has been through, and it's enabled those who hold the title to feel a sense of pride that it's such a historic thing that had to be redesigned to its original specifications with a modern look to ensure it got back in the public eye. You know, that's the good thing. It's managed to do that and do it well. Now this next question here is from a character from my friend's webcomic who asked the question under him, which is kind of interesting. And this is based on his friends going to Comic-Con in New York and seeing Hulk Hogan and James David Frank, the Green Power Ranger. And they asked me this question. Who would win in a wrestling match, the modern-day Hulk Hogan or the original Green Power Ranger? It's simple, isn't it? James David Frank would whoop Hulk Hogan's ass. I was given the question by Team Awesome on Facebook of who would win in a match, James David Frank or CM Punk. Now, both of them would be pretty good in a match with their experiences in mixed martial arts and Muay Thai and karate and all those things. But James David Frank would not need to think twice before knocking someone out. I could see him whooping ass just about anywhere. And the fact he's an MMA fighter and all that stuff, and Hogan wouldn't stand a bloody chance. I'm sure they were arm wrestling in Comic-Con, but he wouldn't stand a chance in a real match, trust me. I'm not to mention the face reaction coming out to the Power Rangers theme for the hell of it. He wouldn't stand a fucking chance. Now I'm on to my last of the wrestling-related questions at 1 hour 11 minutes in. Fuck me. This was from Real Old Harold, of course, so I found out was the Podium Guru. Bloody hell, I did not know that. Well done for an HGL30's mini Q&A for revealing that to me. Thank you for keeping it an alternate gimmick on YouTube. That's impressive. Who do you believe is the face of the YWC? Is it Wrestling Jesus or Sean's View Entertainment? Also, who do you consider the face of the YWC? Out of Delexman or Good Mic Work? Now, who do I believe is the face of the YWC? Now, I honestly have said, I've heard other people say this before, especially Boston fan, thinking if you're the face of the YWC, you shouldn't do things which basically make you out to be really, really rubbish at what you do. Same thing can be said for Sean's View. I mean, the guy getting his wang out on video, I mean, that's ridiculous in its own right. That's most of your videos, from what I've seen, are just you highlighting how good, saying you're the best guy in the YWC. Really? I'm not going to go into detail because I'm not really in the mood to slag anyone off right now. I understand you've got the popularity and your controversial attitude and your opinions sync with the negative opinions of the YWC's obvious big attitude or nut job sector, like Wrestling Jesus' ones do, and I would say the M-Ranters Cena hating does as well, but then they're good people, unlike Wrestling Jesus, who's just a fat troll who seems to run away from everything he does. Seriously, I've said it again. If I had to pick out of Sean's View and Wrestling Jesus, I would say this. Wrestling Jesus, because at least he actually puts opinions out there and is willing to make good videos. Occasionally, I have seen a video where he's put out some good opinions. Occasionally. Sean's View, from what I have seen, is nothing but rubbish. If you're a Sean's View fan, you've got your own opinions. You like him, that's fine by me. I'm not hating on anyone for liking them or anything like that. I'm just saying that Sean's View's video is just, to me, if he's the face of the... was it Mark P who said that? No, it was Mark Pearson who did it, but Boston fan had a few things to say about him as well. But it mostly... Mark Pearson said that he isn't really the face of the IWC if all he does is make us look like idiots. If he gets his wang out on his video and makes him out to be this all-controversial guy who doesn't really do much analysis in the first place, come on. This guy is the face of the YWC when most of his subscribers don't watch his vids. Same thing can be said for me, though. With nearly 300 subs and I only get about 50 or 60 views per, I'm fine with that, personally, but I'm just saying, for someone much larger, I agree with Mark P on this one. That's a bad thing. But who do I consider the face of the YWC out of Delexman or Good Mic Work? This is tough, because both of them, as I've said before, are two of my favourite YouTubers, and honestly, both of them are respected in a lot of ways. Delexman and Good Mic Work, they work off each other. Their videos get, like, the idea for one of Good Mic Work's points could be coming from Delexman, and that's how it normally can go. I feel, it's really hard to pick, because both of them do good analysis, they both have a good, strong fan following, and they get a lot of people viewing their vids, and they've provided to me what the face of the YWC really is, because I, Off the Rope Show, do more football analysis than I've seen wrestling analysis in recent times. So I keep thinking, should they really be the face? No. Fact of the matter, I would probably go for Good Mic Work, though, because of his extended dedication to making his content. Delexman does a good job in making his content, though. There's no, I'm not slagging that in any way or form. Good Mic Work, though, the video lengths you've done, like the 4-hour deceased wrestlers commentary, one of the finest pieces of YouTube wrestling video content I have ever seen. The 5-hour Q&A sessions, which are pre-recorded, mind you, the commentaries that can go into the 30 minutes and sum up in that time what takes me an hour to do. I find that incredible, and it highlights your dedication. Even if it's not something you dedicate a lot of your time to, when you do it, you put so much into it and getting everything to come out just right that everything you have there is just brilliant. So I would say Good Mic Work for me would be the face of the YWC, and Delexman would be a close second. They're pretty much on par with each other, but Good Mic Work's retardedly long vids, and the dedication that he puts towards the content, how good it is, with using that ridiculously large video library he has, tips him over for me. And guys, actually, this is where I'm going to put a little call for you, because if you're watching at this point, I'm at 1 minute 16 in, I am amazed. And if you are, And if you wouldn't mind, I don't watch many wrestling YouTubers. I only watch a couple, and I want more, so can you please link me to any YouTuber, wrestling related, who you think I would enjoy, whether it be their opinions, whether it be the content of their videos, whether it be their analysis. Do what you want. Just give me a YouTuber who you think I would enjoy, and I'll see what happens. If I like their content, they will be added to my subscriber feed. I think the only YouTube wrestling guys I watch nowadays really are Good Mic Work, Deluxe Man, The British Fist, Gold Standard, and also of course Boston Fan and Mark Pearson. They're the only one. Have I mentioned The British Fist already? Yes. And also I do also watch Nature Girl 30 because your videos are fucking awesome. And yeah, so I've listed all the ones I really do watch, but I mean I need to check out some more. So anyone out there, anyone, give me some wrestling YouTubers who I can watch, because I want more. I feel like as a wrestling YouTube analyst, I don't think I watch enough to get a rounded opinion. I don't take part in the community like I should. So why not? Get me involved, will you? That's all I can say. So please, send me personal messages with links. That would be fantastic. Water again. Okay. Now we're on to the 5-question personal section. Now remember that I got more wrestling questions that I wanted to answer than personal ones this time round. But nonetheless, it'll be pretty awesome. Now, Grey Fox, what are your pet peeves? Pet peeves, huh? My pet peeves, I don't know, I always have to try and define what a pet peeve is. If it's annoyances in the world, yes, there are quite a few. People who watch reality TV and think it's the best thing since sliced bread and continuously proclaim how good it is. Basically, people who watch reality television and buy into every single minute of it. It's annoying. Yay. The other one, those who don't clear up dog crap on the pavement, even though there's a sign saying you can get fined for this crap. It's just ridiculous. Pet peeve is just annoyances. If it is annoyances, then I know I can list a few. Celebrities who do nothing to get their fame as well as a pet peeve. If pet peeves are annoyances, I don't really know the line between that. But if it's annoyances, I've listed 3. Enough said. King Romeo, what are your fears in life? The biggest one, which is, again, my major life goal, is just dying before the age of 30. Technically because I want to get to that point. Plus, death in general I'm afraid of. I'm also afraid of failure. I don't like failing. If I fail, it makes me feel like utter crap. And even struggling to do things makes me feel like crap. But one of my biggest, proper fears is bats. And, bats are fucking awful. I mean, honestly, I've said it countless times before. They give rabies and they're a protected species. Do I need to say more? Not to mention they look really, really scary. And, basically, put me in a room, in an enclosure with a bat, I'm pretty much going to freak out. It happened. I stood still and froze in Australia around one, so therefore, it'll happen there. Nature Girl 30, Regina asking this. What is your favourite Sonic the Hedgehog game boss battle? Before I get to that, just want to point this out. Look what came through the mail today. I'm going to be playing this the moment I stop recording this video, so I'll be able to give my views on it, and because I've now managed to get my headphones unblocked and my speakers now work on this computer, and that my Elgato works with my newly purchased Wii U in an HDMI capacity, I can start recording my gameplay footage on it. So maybe once I play through a couple of levels, I can then revisit, start a new file, and play through some levels and give my opinion on it as part of my In the Firing Line series, which will be coming to my CCVGP channel very soon. Mostly because I've now got this sorted. If I didn't have so much work going on, I could dedicate my time to that channel, but this is what I can dedicate my time to my work and my wrestling channel, and that's pretty much it at the moment. I haven't had the time to sit down and do my video game playthrough stuff. So, again, I apologise if it hasn't come through yet, but keep subscribing anyway. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, favourite Sonic boss battle? It's hard for me to really choose, to be honest with you. Because people are going to say to me, hey Fred, you can pick loads of the 2D ones, yay! But the 2D ones, for me, are more frustrating than they are fun. That's just me. They're more frustrating to me. 3D ones, again, the same thing. The last Sonic boss battles are rarely ever ridiculously fun for me. They have, it's the one thing, BioLizard is a great boss battle. Fucking irritating. I mean, I love it, but at the same time, I don't like it because I've had so many rage quit moments. My favourite, I mean, in terms of epicness, I'd give it to that, sure, but my favourite boss battle from a Sonic game, it is so difficult for me to pick, because I don't have many good memories of Sonic boss battles. I mean, obviously, fighting Perfect Chaos for the first time and kicking his ass, loved it. I mean, Perfect Chaos is repetitive, but difficult, but you still get that great thrill of taking this giant, huge beast down you've been made to fear throughout the entire game. Perfect Chaos, actually, to be honest with you, Chaos 6 would have been better if only it had been made more complicated. That's the problem with Sonic Adventure. The only real boss that I found I really do enjoy a lot is the Egg Viper. The Egg Viper frustrated the crap out of me, but I also just felt so good in that. When you have to actually, even when the boss is over, you still have to technically dodge for your life. I know, again, another pick from Sonic Adventure. I apologise, but it was the first game I ever played. I have more good memories from that in a Sonic boss fight than everything else. I mean, the Time Eaters from Generations is worse than the BioLizard on a Rage Quit day. Just saying, folks. And I need to play some of the newer ones. I need to play Unleashed. I think once I give Lost World a whirl in my Wii U, I will definitely have to start playing Unleashed. I need to start playing some of these games because I want to do a top 10 Sonic games list for CCVGP. So I've got to do this one way or another. I've got to do what I can one way or another, you know? Nonetheless, so I'm going to go with the Egg Viper on that one. I just have so many memories of just how tough it was and just how good it was it was not unfair. It was well balanced as a final boss fight in a story, you know? It worked. That's all I'll say. Now, Real Harold asks, who do you think is attractive in video games? Now, you did say which female do you find attractive, but you did say male or female as well. I'm just going to say one character I've only found. I don't find video game characters attractive very much. There is one, though. Bayonetta. Do I even need to say more? If you've played that game, you realise what I mean. Especially if you're a guy, you think, I'd have that. Technically, it's the only video game character I've actually thought, nice. That's how it goes. Yeah, Bayonetta is the only one I actually thought was like properly attractive. So, and being a person who normally doesn't give a shit about those things, that says something, doesn't it? Finally, the final question here is from Kazuya Mishima. What are your thoughts on Saints Row 4? Now, of course, I played the shit out of Saints Row 4 before I got down here to university. In fact, I completed it before I got down to university. I've got the DLC code up here somewhere. I need to unplug my Xbox 360, bring it downstairs to the Ethernet cable, and then plug that in so I can then get my DLC. And I did buy a Saints Flow can as part of that promotional deal, so if you haven't seen that photo, it's around somewhere. Fact of the matter is, Saints Row 4, I didn't like it as much as Saints Row the 3rd because it was just abstract as hell. I mean, I know that Saints Row the 3rd was abstract in loads of ways, but I liked the idea where it had that realistic aspect from the gang ones that it used to have, but just more futuristic things. It felt more realistic than Saints Row 4 did, and Saints Row 4 was just so abstract. I enjoyed it as an immersive experience, and the game as a whole was quite fun to play. But the game, due to that abstract idea, made a lot of mechanisms pointless. I mean, driving in this game is made redundant by your ability to glide. I don't see the need to drive and customize cars if I am doing a damn flying thing. And the weapons were really quite fun. I mean, the black hole gun. The game overall, it tried to go even further out, and it alienated people. It didn't alienate me. I enjoyed the game, and I found the idea of a simulation-based mechanic interesting. A narrative plotline interesting. I didn't like the fact they used the same area. They could have used a different location. But I'm looking forward to the DLC. I found the game lived up to my expectations, but it should have been a little bit more realistic for my liking. That's what made Saints Row the Third in my top games of all time, because it combined what I like most about a 3D open world sandbox. It has realistic elements, but then balances it off with such abstract nonsense that you can get away with anything. GTA 5 is too realistic, but I still enjoyed it, what I could of it. I still have to play through a lot more of it, to be honest with you, because I've stopped playing quite a bit due to my work. But the fact of the matter is, Saints Row 4, I can't wait for Saints Row 5 though, because they said they're going to scale it back a little bit. They're not going to go as abstract. They'll do something more realistic next time. And I don't know what they're going to do, because planet Earth has been destroyed. They're the only humans left. So what the hell is going to happen? Is it going to be reinventing with a new story and new people to look at? Or is it going to be you on a new planet hundreds of years down the line where a new civilization has been built and Earth has been refound in another galaxy or something? It gives us some plot holes which I don't think they'd be able to resolve very easily. So Saints Row 4, I thought it was a good, actually great, fun game. And I found actually the one positive I can say is the Wardens were fun as hell to beat. When you had not very much in the way of weaponry and defences and even superpowers at the time, to fight those Wardens and get a brilliant sense of accomplishment from beating them, because they were a nice mini-boss as the top end of the warning of notoriety system. To see that there was great, because it just meant that you had a reason to fight, to destroy everything, because then you got something worth fighting at the end of the notoriety segment. It wasn't just army destroying the crap out of you. It was worth it. I didn't also like the fact that, so I've had this complaint with every 3D sandbox game up until GTA 5, where the notoriety can just spawn up on wherever you are. I hate that. That's why GTA 5 gets my plaudits for that one. But yeah, Saints Row 4, a great game, but could have done with a little bit less abstract notions of reality and the escapist notions of reality to it. They could have done better with that. If they had more time to flesh out the story as well, I would be okay with that as well. But it was a good game, a great game, nonetheless. But Saints Row the Third still wins for me. And at nearly 1 hour and 30 minutes, I am done. Guys, I hope you have enjoyed this. And if you have, you know what you can do. Start sending your questions in for November's Q&A. Because also by November, I will have WWE 2K14 with me. And that's when my 2K14 Creative Wrestler profiles will start coming up. If you guys want to see more of my videos, you like this, what are your thoughts? Comments in the comment section, like button there, and subscribe button there too. Also, down there is all the links to my social medias. You don't need to worry about those, because they can't appear at the end of a video, which is a Q&A. I can't cut to a credit scene, there's no music. So just click on all the links down there, including my blog, which will return on Tuesday. I haven't had the best of weeks. So yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to the November Q&A, which if I look at my calendar, if I wait for it to load, I'm just going to pick the date now. And if someone could remind me when that date is, if I forget, that would be appreciated. I will do this on the 30th of November. How about that? 30th of November will be my November Q&A. All will be good. Guys, I have been Cream Crazy. You have been people... Damn trucks. Listening, watching, whatever you've been doing. This has been my October Q&A. And guys, I will see you next time. Cream Crazy's Wrestling Rant, representing professionalism in the YWC since 2010 without a script. Yep, you've just been listening to me for 1 hour and 30 minutes. No practice done for these questions, nothing. And guys, I will see you next time. Cheers and have a fantastic week ahead. I hope it all turns out well for you. Cheers.